The Story of My Life, an Autobiography, Chapter 3, The Woes of Middle School. So, middle school. There was a lot that happened in my life in these 3 years. Some of these things I'm going to talk about are the stereotypical reasons why middle school kids hate middle school. So I'm not going to spend the hardest year was definitely sixth grade, mostly because I was adapting to middle school at that point. I was always running late to class. For some reason, my next class always seemed to be at the opposite side of the building than my previous class was. So, I was rushing a lot. I never felt that I had enough time to stop at my locker, no matter how quickly I got there and left there. The 4 minutes in between classes just was not enough for some reason it just was not. And not. And for some reason, the 4 minutes in between classes was just not enough time for me. I'm much unlike the other students who seem to have plenty of time in between classes to get their things. But I guess but for those of you who know me personally, and especially those of you who have seen me run, you will know that I'm not a very fast human being. I'm just not. We even tried putting a padlock on my locker, and removing the dial lock that they usually come with. That was not enough. That was not enough to speed me up. My teachers did not like me carrying around all my books from class to class. And then when I would tell them that I did not have enough time in between classes to grab my belongings, they seemed to ignore it, right, and say that I need to come up with a better system for myself. But as far as I know, or as far as I'm concerned right now, or back then, that was the best. That was the best system for me, because otherwise I'd be late to all my classes all the time. I was still enrolled in speech classes through the school at this time. And the only club that I ever joined in all of middle school was called the video game club. Now this was a club that was put on by the speech teacher at the middle school. Well, and it was only available to students who were enrolled in the speech classes. But this was done to ensure that these other students were boosting their social life, which it was a grand old time. Because every week we got to hang out after school for a couple hours and eat pizza. So yeah, that was pretty fun. That was a fun time. Halfway through that year, one of my best friends unfortunately he moved away. He did not move away to like a new state or a new country or something. But I did not have a cell phone at the time, and I don't know that he did either. So we really did not have much of a direct connection to each other then. It was a bit rough for a little while. For all you football fans out there, this was in 2011 when the New York Giants defeated the New England Patriots. So this was the second time that Eli Manning defeated Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. My dad's a huge Giants fan. The Giants are my second favorite team in the NFL. So that was a good time as well. The first stereotypical middle school feature that I will talk about right now is gym class. And now, I did not dislike gym class. I never hated gym class. I just did not like the teacher I had for a gym class. It was the stereotypical gym class teacher. Sure. So he was overly strict and he yelled at the slightest mishap. Well, that was not fun. Nothing notable happened that summer, so I'm just gonna jump straight into 7th grade. 7th grade was probably the most dramatic year of middle school. Well, maybe 8th grade takes that cake, but they're neck and neck. So while middle school, I mean, why 7th grade was a bit dramatic, and was because of what happened been towards the end of the year, which I will get to. I will get to. But that being said, 7th grade did start out with a bang as well. My birthday is in... for those of you who don't know, my birthday is in late September, so I am a Libra. That year was the year that I started to really, really get into... Oh. Roller coasters and amusement parks. So to celebrate my birthday, we decided to go to Cedar Point. And we... Well, this was during their Halloween event, so... so at this point they were only they open on the weekends, which usually means large crowd. Well, hold on. When I saw him at school, one day, I decided how to approach it. And I make my offer for her to go to Cedar Point with us. What I didn't see was one of my other friends who was sitting not too far from where my friend was, and apparently, I said my apparently, when I invited my friend to Cedar Point, I said it pretty loud. Loud enough that one of my other friends who was not particularly close to where I was even heard my invitation. My lesson for that day was I probably should have waited. I should have waited and how to invite my friend in. So I could have done it in a less congested place that wasn't close to my other friends. Yeah. I definitely should have been more observant of my surroundings. On a side note, that was actually a pretty good trip to up to Cedar Point. We got on a lot of rides. It had just rained. And the crowds were very, very light, which is not usual. Well, for weekend operations, especially at Cedar Point. Later that year, there's this one girl who always I needed to get my attention every time we passed each other in the hall. At first, I did not enjoy it, but I'm going to get into it a little more later on in the video. Later that year, there was a new kid who had just entered our school. As a matter of fact, he had just moved to the state. And right off the bat, he was not making the best name for himself at his new school. But I don't know what was going on in his personal life, so I'm not gonna dig into him. He was in my homeroom that year. And he was also put in one of my groups for a group project. Now, whenever we were working, whenever we were working on that project, from what I can remember, he didn't actually do too much to it. Much for the group. Well, mostly because his idea of helping us was critiquing the ideas that we had already decided upon for our castle project, which was already being built. It was already being built. And not only that, but whenever we were supposed to be working on the project, It seemed like it. It seemed like it. He was actually more invested in what the other groups were doing, as opposed to what we were doing in our. It was not very long for him to start dating this one girl. And when she uh, when she uh, uh, so when she left him, he decided that it was a great idea to make a threat to shoot up the school. I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, but as crazy as this may seem, this nothing you are going to hear in this series has been made up. Whatever for you hear me you say in this series will be what I know has happened in these stories. So for 1 week of 7th grade, for 1 week that year, we were lucky enough to have the police stationed in our school. Luckily, from that point on, there was no. There really was not much to talk about for that. Further, luckily, there was not much to talk about for the rest of that year. So that was a sigh of relief. All right, now let's move on to 8th grade. This was another very, very interesting year. For me, this was the year of the All-American Rejects and Green Day. Yes, it was that phase for me. So she decided to join the high school dance team. So after school, I would just I'll walk over to the high school and wait to be picked up by my parents. Their dance team was they were part of the halftime show for the for the basketball team for the high school basketball team. So I spent a lot of my Friday nights watching high school basketball. Oh, what was always nice is after the Friday night games, we we would go to we'd go to Steak and Shake with the dance team. What was kind of funny is I spent so much time with them, but not actually on the team, that they called me their quote unquote mascot. Luckily, my Spanish teacher at the time was also the coach of the dance team. So that was fun. That was fun as well. So do you remember, or that girl I mentioned that I mentioned in the last part of this video? Well, believe it or not, I actually I was starting to catch feelings for her about halfway through the 8th grade school year. That was, of course, that was right after her apparent feelings for me had left. That was a bit agonizing. Luckily, since this was about 7 years ago, I was able to move on since then. This was the first year that I played travel baseball. So the season started just a few weeks before the end of the school year. One game, I was running the bases and I get to about halfway between second and third base, when I felt something just go popping, right in my left leg. As soon as that happened, I knew that was not a good thing at all. But I kept running. This was despite my leg feeling like it was gonna snap in half. Yes, I did actually score the run there. So, yay and nay. The game ended soon. The game ended pretty soon after that. After that happened. When I got home, I had tried walking up the stairs, but the amount of pain and discomfort in my leg was just too much. So we just decided that I had to go to the emergency room to get it checked out. Oddly, when we went to the emergency room, they did not want to do any screening. They did not want to do very much about it. So I had to walk around with a little bit of a bum leg for a little while. After the... So about a week goes by, and my leg is not getting any better at all. So we went to a sports medicine doctor to get a second opinion. Also, so how fitting is this? The sports medicine doctor we saw at the Akron Children's Hospital had their rooms, or at least some of their rooms, like right up a lot, or right above the minor league and league stadium. Situated in downtown Akron. Well, while a game was not happening at the time, it did look like they were getting the field ready for a game. So that was pretty cool and perfectly fitting. So and then the doctor comes in and does a couple of mobility tests. And then eventually, after my mother kept describing what the injury was, what had happened, we finally got some images of my leg done, and surely enough, I had a stress fracture in my left fibula. So I was given a walking cast, and I was in that for about 6 weeks ish. Right after we got my cast on, we had to go right back to the school because we were setting up for my 8th grade formal, a dance that was happening the next day. So, yes, I went to my 8th grade formal with a bright green cast on my left leg. Fortunately, this was middle school, so no one really cared. Fortunately, that cast never bothered me so much. What's even more impressive is the following week was my 8th grade DC trip, and so I had to walk around in Washington DC with a cast on my leg. Well, I was pushing my friend around and we put in a wheelchair for the trip. Just a vice principal, all that. That you could probably ever have. He was a very he was a very personable guy who was always playing football with me and my friends during social time. Pretty cool guy. Alright, so that will conclude Chapter 3 of my autobiography. This one had a bit more content than the previous chapter, as you can tell by the length of the video. But I'll tell you this. There's a lot more that happened in high school. So, keep your eyes peeled for that video. Alright, bye guys.